This video is going to be a film study focus on the goal line stop that the Baltimore Ravens defense made in their 31-2 win over the Houston Texans on Christmas Day. The Ravens defense pitched a shutout. Clearly, the only side to give up or allow any points was the Ravens offense, the safety, when Kamari Lassiter tackles Derrick Henry in our own end zone. I'm going to focus on the second quarter situation that follows. Essentially, we are forced to kick the ball away. After giving up that safety, the Texans get down to our 3-yard line, in fact, and have an opportunity to score and tie the game, or at minimum get to within 10-8. Multiple guys are involved in this stop. Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, pictured on your screen, or Darius Washington. It's time to do an individual film study on him. I plan to conduct that later in the week. And that'll focus on more than just his performance against the Texans. He just seems to show up every week. I want to give a shout out to EA, Edgar Allen. I'm not even aware that he's necessarily producing content right now, but he's been one that talked about our Darius Washington for a couple of years. Jason from Huddle It Up Films as well. Those are the two that come to mind to me that were always clamoring for him to get more opportunities because they thought they saw small things that he did on the field, be it preseason or limited opportunities, that indicated he could be a quality player. And right now he is. Him and Kyle Hamilton have really transformed the back end there. But other guys deserve credit as well. And Marlon Humphrey is clearly one of them. He's going to be involved in multiple plays here. This is not a Marlon Humphrey film study, but I think you can't really watch Ravens defensive film without talking about how he's played. He's just been our most impactful defensive player in 2024 from a game-changing play standpoint, a splash play standpoint. 6 interceptions, the huge forced fumble in our second win against the Bengals that really changes the dynamic of that game. Let's get to the film. This is, of course, after the safety that Kamari Lassiter was able to register in the Texans' favor. They get the football, produce, I believe, 2 first downs. And now here we are, 1st and 10 out of 12 personnel. Toss play to Joe Mixon. Couple of things on the front side here. Number one, Brent Urban always seems to be involved in a positive manner. And so he almost seems like one of those guys that even if he gets reached, he still understands how to play the back door here of a run concept and essentially funnel the running back into a lane. And when you get the end zone angle, you'll see what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm giving Brent Urban too much credit, but it just seems like whatever snaps he gets on the field, he takes advantage of. And I'm not aware, that other people talk about that a lot. I know in our Discord, there's 2 people that are super high on Brent Urban and his overall contribution generally. So Ojabo, it's a really nice job as a force player, edge defender, if you will, out to the point of attack. He's also getting cracked. So he's dealing with a tight end and he's getting cracked by the receiver and handles both of those things brilliantly. Of course, Marlon Humphrey gets credit for it. He fits underneath the 2 tight ends here, one of which is dealing with Ojabo along with the receiver. They end up basically triple teaming Ojabo, and Marlon is the beneficiary. Folds back underneath after tempoing Joe Mixon. Huge tackle for loss creates a 2nd and 12. We had a great opportunity to get the stop here. Of course, the DPI that I'll show you in a minute ruins all of that. So 2nd and 12, play action concept, and we're going to be in man across the board. So man free. And Matabike is going to get pressure against the right guard who had a lot of trouble, obviously. C.J. Stroud is dealing with a lot of issues there from an offensive line standpoint, don't get me wrong. It's a scissors concept whereby you've got 2 deep crossers, Marlon matching up with one of them running across the field, Tre'Davious White matching up with the other. I think it's Brandon Stevens down here at the bottom side of the screen on Hutchinson matching a vertical beautifully. Really not much available for Stroud. I mean, theoretically, you could have thrown it out in front of the guy that Tre'Davious White is guarding. So Matabike is going to win his matchup. This is the end zone angle of the same play. He had 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. I feel like when he gets these opportunities, one-on-one situations, he's able to win a large majority of the time. I have no idea about pass rush win rate for him, and I really don't care. I feel like our defense is designed to create pressure from plays, essentially sometimes picks, sometimes stunts, rubs, to free up a particular player. Matabike oftentimes benefits from that, and sometimes he's involved in the pick or the stunt. So this is a 3rd and 12, and this one a little disappointing from a Roquan Smith standpoint. We're mugged up, so both inside linebackers there. Look, I understand why Chris Board is playing on pass snaps now. He's more versatile in coverage than Simpson, less athletic, I would say, but very aware And this is a situation, I think, where Roquan is dropping out, and so he's mugged, and so he's got eyes on two, meaning this receiver right here, but he has no awareness of one. So you're pushing two, and I feel like he's looking at one, but just doesn't get any awareness in his drop at all. He's essentially spot dropping on this 3rd and 12, and because Stroud threw it so quickly against this Tampa 2, it hits underneath. Roquan does make the tackle, don't get me wrong. I'd like to see him be a little bit more connected to that receiver on an in-breaking route when you're basically sitting on the hash, which is where that route ends up going to. Like I said, Stroud gets rid of this one early. We drop out both inside linebackers, Roquan and Board, and you can kind of see both of those guys, the lower portion of their body here and here. And look where the ball is thrown. It's essentially thrown right in front of Roquan. He's got good depth. It's 2nd and 12, or 3rd and 12, excuse me. So you don't want to give up a 14 or 15-yard gain. I guess you'll take an 8 or 9-yard gain, which is what we forfeited here. Creates or sets up the 4th and 3. We go man free against bunch. So down to the bottom side, you've got Hamilton manned on the tight end. He stays into pass pro. Great job by Chris Board of redirecting underneath. It's the second time I've seen this in this game for him, whereby he just makes some kind of contact. Look, NFL receivers are so used to not being touched at all that they think they feel impeded by everything. And so little things like that, in my opinion, can go a long way. I guess they get Marlon at the end here with his left hand, not right here, but once they get closer to the referee. I do think that this ball is a little bit more catchable than maybe it appeared in the broadcast. I still think that it's a very soft call based upon some of the things that I've seen defenses do this year. Number one. Number two, some of the things that offenses get away with when they run pick or rub concepts. But I understand people will have a different opinion and say that he's grabbing on the backside hip. He more than made up for it, I guess, a little bit later. My problem would be, against the better teams, the better quarterbacks with more efficient offenses, we're not going to be able to give up these conversions on 4th down when a ball is either, quote, uncatchable or obviously out of reach of the receiver, and we didn't need to interfere. But we are playing man with our back turned, so there's just really nothing you can say in terms of Marlon being able to turn and identify the football. Referee had already picked up his flag to throw. It was not a situation where he waited. This one gives the Texans a real chance to go down and score. In our Discord, I was pretty disappointed. I was disappointed in the 3rd and 12 drop by Roquan. And then I was also disappointed in that call. I thought it was a soft call, and I still do. But I recognize that people have a different opinion. Here we are 10-2, and they are 1st and goal just inside the 10, or maybe the ball right at the 10-yard line. And the first play is a split zone. We get lined up late as a defensive tackle. And Mixon takes this for 6 yards. I'll give you the end zone angle. This is downhill. We're kind of fortunate that Travis Jones is able to work off the block. If not, Mixon may score. So these two guys, Matabike and T. Jones, are lined up late, if you ask me. Certainly Matabike's hand is barely in the ground when they snap the football, and he does stay to his leverage side. So Matabike's in his gap. Roquan could maybe press this a little bit more, but it's a free release. So when I say free release, what I mean is the center has nobody touching him, so he just releases right up to Roquan's face. Roquan's got to decide now. I mean, if that's the way we want to evaluate it, he's got to decide now and come downhill, because that is essentially now he is closed off by that center. And fortunately, T. Jones works off of his man, the backside guard, gets involved in a tackle, limits Mixon to a 6-yard gain. Were it not for Travis Jones to be there, in my opinion, we're probably looking at a touchdown and then deciding whether to go for 2 or not. 2nd and goal, and this is brilliant stuff by multiple guys here across the front. One thing to mention here is we're not lined up late. We're just right and left. So we weren't worried about the tight end, the strength. Why? Probably because it's 12 personnel, so it's balanced, meaning there's one tight end to the left, one tight end to the right, so we weren't flipping sides, and we can just let Travis Jones and Michael Pierce try to kick some ass, and Pierce does, in fact. Marlon will make the tackle. Kyle Hamilton and Tavius Robinson, in my opinion, make the play. There's something to be said about a 6 technique over a tight end. And so a 6 technique is a guy who's head up on the tight end. He's neither inside shade nor outside shade. So we're talking about Tavius Robinson, 4-point stance, head up on that tight end. It's just a beautiful concept. I understand that it's not traditional from a 4-3 standpoint, nor is it traditional from a 3-4 standpoint, but there's something to be said for it. Also, Kyle Hamilton filling inside of the wide receiver's block, basically collapsing or clogging up that run lane, forcing Mixon to bounce it right to Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith. So this is the first win that we've got here on this particular snap, and it's Michael Pierce. He's going to force Mixon to cut it back because he wins, and not only does he win to his gap side, but he's now folding underneath. So Pierce is here, and as Mixon starts to bring this back to the inside, you can see that Pierce has now won with his helmet and his upper body as well. So the frame of his body is in Mixon's field of view. He's got to bounce it. That's Hamilton on the ground, but he did a great job clogging it up there. And then that's Tavius Robinson. Let's show you the 6 technique. So slightly inside shade. I would still call it a 6. And he just bullies the tight end, refuses to give any ground. Also, Hamilton fits inside of that, so they're forcing this to spill to the outside corner, which is Marlon. Roquan scrapes over the top. Great football play in a short yardage situation. Love the 6 technique at times against run concepts, whether they're inside or outside. 3rd and goal, and the Texans are going to motion to empty here. They're going to push the running back out. I believe you've got Nico Collins against Brandon Stevens in the slot. So this is the first place that C.J. Stroud looks. And Marlon Humphrey is the guy who obviously gets the PD here. I think C.J. Stroud goes through his reads really quick. I mean, he's down to the bottom side immediately. And I will show you the end zone angle. Comes back to the middle really quick. I've paused it, obviously. But I think when you get the end zone angle, you'll be able to confirm what I'm saying. And then comes back to, I think it's Mechie against Marlon. Great pass defense with the right hand, the inside hand, to knock that thing down out of the way. Marlon's just a competitor. Even though he got a DPI 3 plays earlier, he's going to continue to play physical. He's going to continue to play the same style. One of the things I've noticed about him early in 2024. Same play from the end zone angle, just so you can see how quickly Stroud goes through this. Keep in mind, Nico Collins is off screen to our left against Brandon Stevens. And on the motion, Roquan had widened up, so he's getting in the slant window. Also, you got Kyle Hamilton there. So I think they're helping out Brandon Stevens on in cuts, in breaking routes, and then Brandon Stevens has got to handle anything stacked or anything that's an out or a fade. And C.J. Stroud works off of that really quick, comes back to the middle, second, and then tries to get it's really blurry. My apologies. I tried to slow it down a couple of times. It's just not going to comply. Marlon's able to get the hand in there. You don't really get a great view of it. Like I said, sometimes the camera angle just ends up blurry no matter what you do. Creates the 4th and goal situation. And this is beautiful football from a force player standpoint. Houston goes to a bunch set, and I think what they're trying to do is find out how we're going to handle Nico Collins to the backside. I think that's him down there. At least I hope it is. These jerseys were kind of weird to look at. We widen up Kyle Hamilton on this 4th and goal, and essentially, in my opinion, tell or show C.J. Stroud, we're going to take away your best receiver on the backside. You're not going to do what the Raiders did, what I think the Eagles did one time. Multiple teams this year have done. Line up 3 receivers to one side and put their best receiver backside against Brandon Stevens and say, we're going to throw the football over there, be it a back shoulder fade, be it a go, or whatever. So it took that option away. C.J. Stroud does look over there briefly. I think he's just trying to hold. I think he knows that he's not going to come over here at all because we've essentially got a 2-on-1 with a very dangerous player on any in cut, meaning Kyle Hamilton. And this is a really nice job of these 2 inside linebackers passing these routes off to each other. One-man screen, Schultz out in front. Maybe he should go get Marlon Humphrey. That seems to be what Joe Mixon's complaint was on the sideline. I guess you'd say force Tre'Davious White and Ardarius Washington to make the tackle. The problem, Joe, is they did. In this case, Ardarius made the tackle. But I get it, because if Marlon's not there to disrupt him here around the 5-yard line, then maybe Joe Mixon's just going to go ahead and run the football in. And you got Ardarius and Tre'Davious White that have got to fit this up. One of them outside in, one of them inside out. It's a beautiful football play, man. Look, as a former defense coordinator, far lower level than this, obviously, pursuit drill is one of the things we practiced. We had 4 different versions of it, some of which are more fun than others, some of which are more monotonous. but it gives you an idea, as a player, of how you approach outside toss, outside swing passes, reverse, and the angles that you take. And Ardarius is absolutely committed. I can't wait for you to see the end zone angle so you can see what the approach that he takes. And I mean, just how sold out he is. The guy is just committed to throwing himself at the football, at the point of attack. I think it's a great play to be made by Marlon Humphrey, one of our best players. Ardarius Washington, who's surging. He's gained a role now, a starting spot, and that's his for the rest of the year, obviously, barring injury. And then a guy, Tre'Davious White, that we traded for. 3 players in 3 totally different situations, but all of them absolutely selling out to finish things off on this 4th and goal stand. Board and Roquan pass off this underneath route really well. Look at Ardarius, the angle that he takes. So he's not bowing to the outside because that's Tre'Davious White's job, even though there's a blocker there. Marlon is on inside hit, perfect, even though he doesn't make the tackle. And Ardarius is a beautiful angle, closing down. The violence that you've got here on this hit is only generated because he's totally committed. He kind of folds, mixing up a little bit. Tre'Davious White finishes him off. That's, I don't know, man. As a defensive coach, that for me is the equivalent of creating an offensive play call, a design concept, and seeing it score the first time you run it. Anytime your players play with that much passion, that much commitment, and such great angles, and then finish, it's exciting. Of course, we know what it was for Zach Orr, because when Ardarius came off the field, he tried to jump and celebrate and actually ended up hitting the ground. Pretty hilarious. If you didn't check it out already or see it on Twitter or social media, whatever you follow, search it up. Ardarius Washington, Zach Orr. Looks like a failed stage jump at a concert, like I said in my reaction video. This was a fun game to watch after this moment because, of course, we take the ensuing possession on offense, go right downfield. Lamar, ridiculous plays in the second quarter, and then the third quarter, essentially to finish them off, put us up 24-2 at one point. The defense played fantastic. I'd like to do a larger film study video on the defense at some point Friday afternoon. If you guys are interested in that, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. Number 2, if you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at that goal line stand or goal line stop, if you will, in the second quarter, during a point in time when it's ominous. They could have tied the game or at least made it 10-8. And because of the efforts of Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, Ardarius Washington, Tre'Davious White, and others as well, we were able to hold them off and hand Lamar and Derrick Henry the opportunity to go down and really seize control, which we did, posting up our 11th victory, 3rd in a row, leading into the regular season finale against the Browns. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at our goal line stop, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.